After 18 years as marketing director at the Penn Centre, Rick Woodward is heading off into retirement. He says it was serendipity the way the job came to him way back in 1998.
I was thinking, who's going to hire a 50-year-old? And I think a lot of 50-year-olds who may find themselves in a similar situation today might think the same thing about themselves. Younger people nipping at their heels, 50 years old, is there still a place for me? But as it turned out, there was a home here at the Penn Centre, and one that welcomed me in 1998. And here almost 20 years later, who could have ever thunk it?
Rick says shopping these days is more than just business, it's also entertainment. That philosophy has allowed the Penn Centre to weather the storm against online retailing and the loss of major retailers such as The Gap and Target.
We're probably going through one of the more challenging and difficult Canadian retail environments now than we have ever in my tenure here. It's kind of interesting because our sales have never been stronger. We're now over $500 a square foot. For all my years here, we basically would be around the $450 mark. But I think with the Canadian dollar dropping down into 70 and the 80 cent territory, it's discouraged a lot of cross-border shopping, which has resulted in higher traffic and higher sales here. So while on one side the centre is doing well from a sales per square foot, we're challenged like most other Canadian shopping centre with retailers that are closing, Canadian retailers that have lost their way, and so there's sort of a change afoot right now for sure in the Canadian retail industry.
One of Rick's first orders of business was the introduction of the pen letters. His first announced his arrival, and his last gives him the chance to say farewell. What was it like to write that last pen letter?
It was sad. Yeah, I'd say it was sad. The front story was, Woodward retires after 18 years on page 1. On page 4, there was the last word. And I just really tried to summarize really some of my thoughts and some of my considerations, really not unlike what we're doing here, how I really saw my place here in the shopping center per se, and how I saw that place in the larger role within the region of Niagara. So yeah, it was a little sad in that respect, and sort of putting something to bed that I'd worked on so hard on a monthly basis, year after year after year.
From the YWCA to Habitat for Humanity and events such as Walk a Mile in Her Shoes and Cop Shop, Rick has worked closely with many community organizations through the years.
I've often thought that building a brand, which is, well, I have a brand and you have a brand, Penn Centre has a brand. And I always felt that there's never any magic to it. It was almost like for every good deed that you did, for every phone call that you returned, for every person that you walked out to the front office who walked in to see you, that you went out and exchanged greetings with, it was like putting another brick in the wall. Just one little brick at a time, and each one of them independently would be insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But over almost 20 years of slowly but carefully adding to that wall by being caring and by being considerate and being generous, all of a sudden you have a brand that people, I think, in our community think of as the Penn Centre, of how you described it earlier. Yes, we're a shopping destination, we're Niagara largest and so on, but we're also an institution that cares and wants to give back and want to be a part of the community as a whole.
A community farewell for Rick Woodward will be held at the St. Catharines Club on May 27th from 3 o'clock until 6 p.m. Reporting from the Penn Centre for The Source, I'm Mike Balsom.